Best.Podcast.Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, a full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that's changing the way businesses retain their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a complete legal audit of the 6 areas that most often create or prevent business lawsuits and government investigations. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep you safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
What makes your company, your service, your product unique? What do you stand for? And it's evolved over the years, and today, more than ever, it's really important for a brand to stand for something.
Hi, Molly Gabler.
Hey, Alex Gertzberg.
What's going down, dude?
Oh, my gosh. Nothing. Nothing.
You've had an eventful... Was it this... It wasn't this weekend. It was the prior weekend you went to New York.
I did.
And then this weekend
gosh.
you were just around here, but doing
I
stuff.
was so busy.
So busy.
So busy.
Okay.
I hate that. Yeah, so I...
You want me to tell you how you can... You want me to tell you how you can put your days into buckets?
No, I don't care about your buckets. Oh, my
dare
goodness. So I, on Thursday of, I don't know, whatever week it was, Emily, Thursday night, since she's new at her job, which we've talked about before, she is the personal assistant to Christian Suriano, which is a fashion designer. And when they were getting ready for the fashion show because it was fashion week, she said, I didn't realize I get a +1. Ooh. And so I said, oh, okay. And I said, I just can't. I mean, there's just no way, whatever. So then Friday morning, I came into work and I was just like, you know what? What am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here?
I could be a +1 right now.
I could be a +1. I'm always a +1. But so I called her. I said, I'm coming. And I went home. I packed and I left. I probably got on the road about 11 a.m. And I had a great time. The fashion show was amazing. And yeah, it was just fun.
You hung out with Sarah Jessica Parker and Sarah Michelle Gellar.
No, yes.
Oh, not
Sarah. Yeah,
okay. Sarah Michelle.
The other 3 named girl.
Alicia Silverstone
and Meghan Trainor. I mean,
Meghan Trainor.
When I'm at a club,
right,
feeling soup's old, sitting and watching all this happen, and of course it's the pumping strobe light and the music is super loud, and it was a open bar, so there was a lot of flowing going on.
Yeah, you didn't dance?
I did get up and dance.
You got your
I did.
on.
I did. I got my oons. But to sit there and watch Meghan Trainor dance to her own, all about the bass. I mean, that's iconic. Right? I mean, there she is. She's not singing it.
Right.
They're playing it. And she's up on the couch dancing. I have a lovely video of her jamming out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and then that was on Saturday was a show. Then Sunday was I just ended up staying until Monday, so Emily and I just hung around and just super fun. And then this past weekend, well, first of all, it was all last week was First Responders Week, which I do need to make mention. The chamber, with the help of our chamber members, we served 80 plus meals the entire week, 13 different communities, all their first responders every day for a week. And it was just super cool and just super cool just to be able to feed them.
That's really cool that you put that together, Molly. I each year that's come around, I've commended you for putting that together. That's a really cool thing that you do.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. So that was all week. So shout out to every chamber member that sent over food for it and visited and said thank you. And then this past weekend, I released my third book. Oh my gosh, so excited. So this was my baby. Like, this was the first book. It didn't come out first because all my books are timed based on the event. Mm-hmm. This one's called Little Pumpkin. It's about the pumpkin roll.
Of course.
But this was the first one I wrote. This started my vision. And again, Lily did a phenomenal job on the illustrations. And so over the weekend, we were at different places selling them, and people love it. People love it. Even the Fireside bookstore called me today and like, hey, people are coming in. Can you get us, our copies? Because I hadn't gotten them out yet. The popcorn shop made a huge display. They made the little pumpkin popcorn.
Oh my goodness!
Which you can get at the popcorn shop. So just the rallying around it has just been so super cool.
That's awesome.
And then we sold it yesterday at South Russell's Fall Fest. And I got to tell you, Mayor Coons, we need to get Mayor Coons.
How has he not been on this show?
We need to get him on it for sure. He and the staff from South Russell, not just him. I'm sure he has plenty of, but he was just working it. So it's Fall Festival. They bring in Chagrin Pet and Garden, brings in the tractors. They flew in a Lite flight helicopter that came in, and then all the kids could go and play on it. They had a fire truck there so the kids could play. They had a bouncy house and a huge slide and face paint. It was just amazing. And tons. Lolly the trolley would bring people. You parked at one place, and then Lolly the trolleyed over, and just the mayor was just doing the garbage. He was driving the tractor. He was helping people off the lolly. Just a good-hearted person. Just adore him.
That's awesome.
So shout out to Mayor Coons and South Russell staff, because it was just a wonderful event yesterday.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, and then they let me come and sell my books, which was super fun.
And there's one more in the series
this year, yes,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not really a series. I do need to say, like, they don't read together.
Yeah, but it's still a series.
It is.
They're related. They're all Chagrin Falls.
Yes, they're all
icons and
correct
related stories.
Correct.
In that way.
So yeah, great weekend. Great fun. Yeah.
Good.
So again, you can buy Blossom, Mortimer, or the Little Pumpkin at my website, apieceofmollysmind.com, or you can go to Fireside Bookstore and or Popcorn Shop and purchase it there.
Excellent. Anywho,
so what did you do this week? Anything good?
Went on a creek hike. Ooh, yesterday we saw the Book of Mormon. Did you ever see that?
I have, I think.
It's like the most offensive and controversial play of all time.
Can you just give me a little synopsis so I know if I've seen it?
So these two elders from the Mormon church have to go to Uganda on a mission to turn all of the Ugandan people into Christians, into Mormons, by baptizing them when they're over there. And just hilarity ensues from there. It's extremely offensive. It is like, first of all, it was the second time I saw it. And I will say this, for people who have a strong stomach for such controversy, right? Because it is just wincing in offensiveness.
It's got to be great because it's been around for so long and sells out.
Oh yeah, and it won all these Tony Awards.
Yeah, so
it was here. So clearly, the writers who are the writers of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they must be atheists. And this is an indictment on Mormonism and really all religion. Molly, it would make you cringe. Like the things but it's so funny.
I feel like I've seen, was it part of our package in the recent couple years?
I can assure you that if you saw it, you'd remember it because it is really, but it's a great story and the music is amazing. So anyway, Tiffany and I went, we did that yesterday, very spur of the moment, and it was amazing. Oh, you know what happened? You know what we just learned?
What?
My law firm, for the second year in a row, just got into the Weatherhead 100.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's last year, and we just got it again.
That's exciting.
We're in the Weatherhead. Yeah, very excited about that.
Interesting that I'm looking at that one. Is there a year on it? Oh yeah, it's on the.
Yeah, so that one was 2018, and we just got admitted into the 2019 class. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now we're in the upstart category because it's like less than 10 years in business and less than 15 people or something like that.
So that means you can now give the weather reports?
Yes, that's exactly
excellent. Yeah. Good for you.
This is a very exclusive
Tell
club.
me. Explain.
The Weatherhead 100 is so the Weatherhead School of Business is Case Western's business school. And each year they give it, it's the 100 fastest growing companies in Cleveland. And then the upstarts, I think it's like the top 20 who are small companies like mine.
Okay.
Cool.
I
think I have that right. So so this is our second year in a row. And
do you get to go to a big party?
Yeah, it's this big banquet. And that's a pretty cool event. So anyway,
congratulations.
Thank you. And congratulations to everyone at the Gertzberg Law Firm who made this happen. I just couldn't be prouder, Molly.
That's so cool.
This is a big deal.
So cool. So do you have to submit things to show that you are growing?
Yeah, apparently we didn't even do it. It was our CPAs at Skoda Minotti. They did it they nominated us, which was very, very cool. So let me give a big thank you and shout out to Jim Sacker, who, by the way, I mean, I don't think that I've ever talked about Jim. Jim has been do you have a really good tax accountant, Molly?
Yeah, my brother-in-law.
Okay. So but
my sister used to do work for Skoda.
They're amazing. So, I mean, I really have followed the Skoda Minotti story for the last, 20 years. They used to be just a small CPA firm, and then they decided that they were going to be way more than that. And so they started buying up companies, merging into companies, and they now are this huge. At one time, they were a public company. Have you heard of CBiz?
Yeah, she did work for them as well.
I think they founded CBiz, and then they split off from it again. But they're an incredibly innovative and really highly skilled group of people who do pretty much everything that a business needs now, like insurance and obviously taxes. But there's an IT company in there. There's an HR consulting company that they do wealth management. They are the entrepreneur's entrepreneur when it comes to watching a business scale. And anyway, Jim Sacker has been my tax accountant for probably since I've met him about 15 years ago. When I was in-house counsel at Broadvox, he was their accountant for 10 years already. And I've never looked back, and I've never considered having anyone else do my taxes. They're incredible, and they're great mentors and counselors, and have been for this business since I started it 8 years ago now. So, Jim, thank you for nominating us to the Weatherhead 100 again.
Yeah,
and
very cool. Congratulations.
And thanks for being an amazing group of dudes over there.
So I do have a little announcement as well.
Go.
I don't think I've announced this yet, that Jon left his job.
Oh, you did announce it.
Here?
Yeah. It was
on the PCast?
Yeah, I listened to it.
Okay, forget it.
No.
Cut that out. No.
But
yeah, it's good to be reminded because I still get texts all the time. Oh my gosh, I just went to the other place you used to work for. And where's your husband? So just FYI, everybody, Jon is fine. And he has relocated.
That's Highway Garage,
Garage to better himself at a great company. He's running all the service there. So head over there.
Yeah.
He'll still take as great care of as did before.
Here's what you should do, folks. And I haven't even cleared this with Jon, but I'm going to assume that he's okay with it. Next time you need any work done on your car, go see Jon Gebler at Highway Auto and tell him that Alex and Molly told you to do that on Best Podcast Ever.
Yes.
And Jon, I'm sure, will do something for you.
He'll take care of you. Absolutely.
Maybe like a discount or something.
Absolutely. Local is best.
Friday, do you remember that crazy storm?
I do.
Did you lose power?
No.
Tiffany and I went with our friends to eat at that restaurant Blue that just opened up next to Red.
Used to be Red?
No, it's next to Red. It's now Red.
But
still
what
there.
was it?
It was Moxie.
Moxie.
It's the same owner. We get there and like flash flooding outside right when we walked in. And it lost all power. Everyone just kept eating and they kept doing the best they could. And it was crazy because everybody put their phones on top of their wine glasses, so that
for
their
little
table.
lights.
Well, because that's like the tallest thing on your table.
Yeah.
So they did that, but then clearly the air stopped circulating and it got really like musty in there.
Yes.
I will.
Did they have to take out the emergency credit card thing?
Yeah, they did. Well, they ran it on their phones. Here's what I will say about Blue. Okay. When you looked around, everyone else, like all the other restaurants and businesses, clearly had a plan B. Blue is like
brand new.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really not.
It was Moxie. So
right.
Get a generator, guys. I mean, like seriously, because they lost all power.
And they're at price, so they've got a lot of pricey stuff in their freezers and refrigerators.
It's a solid restaurant.
Yeah.
So I will give them that negative
feedback.
review, but the positive review is that our food came out and it was still fantastic. It came out like well after all the power went out, and we ate it, and I mean, it was amazing food still. We got this like great seafood platter and all this really amazing seafood. So kudos to Blue on the food.
The execution.
But, geez, get a generator or something.
Did you could you see other restaurants around and they were all
every
lights
other business
up
had lights on around us.
Did Red?
Oh, I guess that was right next door, so we couldn't see
that.
Presumably, no.
Oh my gosh! I will tell you, I drove down Lander Road, and every tree lawn had trees in it. And I know I've seen pictures from like Fairmont area, Fairmont Boulevard. I don't know what that would be, Coventry area, I think, and they got hammered hard. Yeah. So I hope everybody. I know my friend just got her electricity back last night, so the people have been out for a while.
We should probably at this point talk about our good friend Neil Markey, who is going to be joining us as soon as we stop talking about him. Molly, you and Neil have known each other for a while, eh?
Yes, yeah, we've worked together in certain fashions. I know that their business, Markey Creative. They have done several ads for us, and great. His wife works with him, Jill, and great people. And do a lot for the community. A lot. They
really do. So Neil is the one of two owners of Markey Creative. It's an advertising and design firm right here in our very building. They're right downstairs.
Right downstairs. Yeah. I think we helped facilitate that space for them. The chamber did. Yeah. Well, you did a good job. It's great space, and it used to be Hooker's Hollow. Hooker's Hollow? Well, it used to be Hunter's Hollow. Hunter's Hollow. But we called it Hooker's Hollow. You called it Hooker's Hollow. Yeah. Neil has a really interesting background. He's been in advertising for over 30 years. He has done work for like all the Miller, Lite, Hyundai, Mattel, Kay's Jewelers, Ohio Lottery, Chagrin Valley Chamber of Commerce. Chagrin Valley Chamber, most importantly. Yes. He has lived and worked, I believe, he's lived and worked on both coasts. He's also a council member at the Chagrin Valley Rec Center. And he, as you said, he's very prolific. He's got sort of he splits his time in a whole lot of
projects. He's really active in the theater.
And a children's book author, which I did not realize.
Yeah. And there's a really, really great picture of him with a mullet that we're going to have to talk about right there. There's him, and presumably that's Jill, still just striking as ever.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great mullet.
With a white turtleneck, is that what that is? That is like 93, 87?
I don't know if that's is that a turtleneck?
A mock. It might be a mock turtleneck.
No, that's just a collarless shirt. Anyway, we'll be making fun of him to his face here momentarily. So let's bring him in.
Sure thing.
Neil Markey, true or false, you have been in advertising for 30 years.
That is unfortunately very true.
That seems like a really long time to be in one industry. To me, that defies all of my ADD capabilities right there.
Well, true story. It's all I ever wanted to do. When I was a kid, all I ever wanted to do was what Darren Stevens did in Bewitched.
Ooh.
So, of course, I would have loved to have a witch to help me with campaigns and such.
Careful.
My dad sold advertising space for optical magazines, a company called Chilton Publications, and he did that. That was his first job and his last job. He was there for like 40 years. But yeah, I always was intrigued with it. I went through, always did well in school, and getting, funny story that I was applying to West Point, sort of not on my own accord. My parents would have loved it, and I figured, all right, I'll never get in, so why not try? Just to appease them, they'd be happy to do that. And I don't know, somewhere along the line, I kept on passing each hurdle.
My.
And I was applying to the Naval Academy and West Point, and got to the final interviews, and went in front of the Naval Academy, and I was like, just to be clear, I'm planning on going for art. I want to get into advertising. And the Navy was just like, well, thanks for your honesty, and thanks, but no thanks. We're really looking for more engineers and architects and stuff like that. So they very polite and dismissed me after about a 4-hour written exam and all this stuff and physical. So I go to the Army and figured the same thing's going to happen, and there's a whole room of cadre there, and so I sit there. I said, I just, full disclosure, I don't want to waste anyone's time. I'm planning on going for art to college. And the whole room turned around and said, well, son, who do you think does the brochures and the design for the Army? And do you like advertising? We could do, we have a great campaign running. And do you like aerial photography? Would you like, I would love to do that. That sounds wonderful. So, I went, okay. I'm like, that sounds great. So cut to, I wound up not finishing the final application for West Point, but as sort of a consolation prize, I continued to go for a ROTC scholarship, and I got it, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fabulous, wonderful thing, and I went into it fully hoping that it would be great, thinking that I was going to be doing Army brochures and advertising and aerial photography. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'll have a job coming out that's good for my career. Yeah, well, 6 months into ROTC training, they were like, what department do you want to be in? What branch? And people were like, infantry or airborne. And I raised my hand. I said, I want to be the one that does the design and the brochures and the aerial photography. And the guy was like, what idiot told you that? That's not going to happen. So luckily I was under the last year of a contract that for 2 years I had the opt out.
Gotcha.
So continued on and, got right into design and advertising right at college and never looked back.
Can we pause for a minute?
Sure.
What was it about, what's his name on Bewitched, that had you so attracted to the field?
I always loved, plays on words and clever commercials. I remember commercials from, when I was a kid. I mean, you're walking down the aisle, and I still, remember, Paula Poundstone jokes about it, but it's like, honeycomb's got big taste.
Right,
or,
yeah.
You remember all those.
Are
You
the
could take the country out of Salem, but you can't take the Salem out of country. That's when cigarettes were advertising. So that's how old I am.
I thought you were going to ask which Darren was it the first Darren or the second Darren?
Dick Sargent versus Dick York.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I'm also kind of a TV holic.
Okay.
I love TV. I always love TV. I still watch TV. I watch bad TV. I watch great TV. I like it all.
You and Molly have a lot in common.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. Your first year out.
Right. So I just really pounded I grew up outside of New York, and literally every day was on the phone for hours calling every design ad agency in New York, and just asking for advice. RIT had a great program, and they had a great transition into the work. Your senior year, you basically worked on getting a job. And they got your portfolio ready. And, again, kids come out of college and they're worried about their transcripts and stuff. Not one person ever asked me for my transcripts. It's all about the work you did. So it was basically how you presented yourself and what you showed in your portfolio. So it was, you sit there, and an interview's hard, but having someone judge your work in front of you, and most people were great, but there were some people that were horrible.
So, and you're talking New York City?
New York City.
So you didn't even, you went right from graduating to probably the biggest advertising world city that there is.
Yeah, Madison Avenue was that's the other thing. I was determined to be on Madison Avenue, and I remembered I interviewed at a place called Backer and Spielvogel, and I remember sitting in the lobby with my little corduroy suit on and
with
my
your
portfolio.
Mullet? Yeah. Was the mullet gone at that time?
I know I probably had a mullet, and there was I was waiting to get in to see somebody, and this group of young people came out, and they had just come out of a big meeting, and they were talking about they were going through this big pitch for Miller, or there was a big meeting for Miller Brewing Company. And I just thought, I said, come hell or high water, I am going to work for these people someday. And it was just the coolest vibe. It was just, all these people were just young and hip, and they were just, that was what I wanted. So, the first job I got was not there, but the day I started at a little advertising agency, I never stopped interviewing. I kept on sending my portfolio out, and I kept in touch with the guys at Backer and Spielvogel. I did a whole campaign, an advertising campaign based on selling Neil Markey. And, look back on it now, it's pretty cheesy, but, I sent them the famous beginning of life, Michelangelo's The Touching of the Dawning of Man, with the fingers touching and sparking life, and I send that with keep in touch, and I sent my name out spelled KNEELMARQUEE, and just all sorts of things that just kept my name in front.
Right.
And sure enough, 6 months later they called. I got a call at work, which was really bad.
Oh boy.
From this guy Howard Stein at Backer and Spielvogel. He said, "Could you come over?" And I said, and I always dressed for work fairly nicely, but that day I was pretty much like I was today. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt or collared shirt, but I hadn't shaved. I don't know what was going on, but it was a Friday maybe. I don't know. I just looked like hell. And I said, "Can I come in on Monday?" He goes, "You know what? The guy that you're going to be working for won't be here. You have to come over." So, and you have 20 minutes to get here. I was clear across town. So I hop in a cab, realize I only have a couple dollars in my wallet, don't have enough money for the cab.
Oh my God.
So I have to jump out of the cab halfway, and it's April, but it's one of those April days in New York that's 90 and humid, and I'm running down, Fifth Avenue with my, just panicking. I get there, I looked like absolute hell. I just was horrible, but this was at the time my dream job, and I'm like, I went in there, and I wasn't leaving until they offered me the job. I was like, "I'll do anything you want. I'll work 24 hours a day. I'll do this." The guy's like, calm down. We like your work. We like you, And I'm like, "Doesn't matter. I want." So I just went after him.
And did they love all those things that you, like all those
They did.
that you say are cheesy now, but
They
I
did.
think that was helpful.
And interesting enough, the guy that I worked for originally, obviously liked him and stuff, but he had sent him around to other people, and there were a couple other creative directors that really liked the stuff. And I wound up working for them at another time, because they were all like, and yeah, I was the picture of, just overeager.
Right.
And
so you're 21-ish.
21, yeah.
And you are in New York City living your dream.
Yes. Still living at home, though. Living at home, commuting.
Okay, so
I'm
you
living
were
in Jersey.
close enough. Okay.
Yes, commuting. Probably close to 2 hours on a bus every day. But didn't care.
Didn't care
it was
'cause you were
great.
doing
So, so I got there, worked there for, and people jump around in advertising a lot, and that's how the money jumps up because people court you. And I had I was happy. I stayed there until finally, about 7 years later, my creative director, who I love to death, came into my partner and I, our office. We were working, and said, "Listen, don't take this wrong, but you need to get out of here. You need to leave and come back because you're a senior art director now, and you're doing great, and you're running, you're getting national campaigns and everything." He goes, "But people are still going to look at you like that kid that came in the door that first day."
Right.
So he says, "Get out." He connected us with the creative director down at a place called Della Femina McNamee, which Jerry Della Femina, I don't know if you're familiar with him, was just a giant in the field. One of the greatest guys ever. He was terrific. And he sent us down there, connected us with them. The guys came, they hired us, and we went there for a couple of years. And it was a different place. It was very, Jerry was terrific, but it was very rogue. He was sort of a guy that shot from the hip a lot, and he was, you never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. There was a lot of, but I mean, people loved him, but he also, he was just a wild card. And he was also buying restaurants and media companies at the time. So he was a little unfocused. And so the advertising was not, they were losing accounts. So it was a little scary because if an account leaves, it doesn't matter how good you are or how great you did. The account's gone, the money's gone, so you're gone. So we sort of saw the writing on the wall, and someone at Backer, my old place, not the guys we were working for, said, "Hey, would you ever consider coming back?" Because I'd worked on the beer for a while, like Miller Beer and Miller Genuine Draft. And so then the guys from M&M Mars wanted us. So we went there. We went to work for the candy account. So,
and you had to be, if I'm doing, what year are we in?
Oh gosh, 90s, early 90s.
So I mean, that was almost the I know Miller Lite but Miller Genuine Draft had a huge spike in the 90s. I mean, they were the beer in the 90s.
Yeah, Miller Lite was at the time.
My high school beer.
Yeah, Miller Lite at the time was the number one beer in the country. An interesting fact: if you win Texas in the beer category, you win the country.
That doesn't surprise me.
Interesting.
Yeah, at the time, 20% of the beer that was drank in the country was drank in Texas.
And we're too busy drinking White Claw here in Ohio.
But we and Miller was smart enough to do a campaign solely for Texas. So we did a big campaign with Randy. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. Randy Quaid. And he was a Texan, and we did a campaign where he was going to throw the biggest party in history.
Cousin Eddie.
What's that?
Wasn't it Cousin Eddie?
That is Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, it is Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Great guy. And but he threw the biggest party in history and found out that there were 2 million Miller Lite drinkers in Texas, but everyone was still invited, but it was going to take them a little time. So for 2 years, we just went around the whole state and worked with this great guy, Eric Steinhauser, who was a director, and Seth Freed, who wrote some stuff and conceived of the campaign. And we just had a blast and went around and met all these Texans, spent 2 years there. And it culminated in a big party at the Cotton Bowl with The Who and ZZ Top and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And it was like a 5-day party. It was amazing.
Wow. Wow.
I can kind of see you being in that scene, actually. I'm not that you've got kind of this like celebrity, like not like a fixer, but like a behind the scenes kind of guy that you would see, like I can picture you with like the the tag at the concert, but backstage, like making stuff happen. You know what I mean? Can you see that? I don't know.
I'd take that job. Yeah.
but it sounds like you were in that scene for.
We were for a while. Then to follow that up after that one, we worked with ZZ Top to do a follow-up party, and ZZ Top's management was very, very controlling. They were incredibly sensitive to ZZ Top's brand. They were very protective of the band, very protective of how they were portrayed, very protective of what they released. And Miller was worried because they were spending a lot of money. And they had sent a bunch of guys down to the meetings, and one by one, they kicked them out of the meeting. And so I get a call once again. It's like, just get on a plane. You got to go down to Houston. Oh, and wear cowboy boots. Oh, and you didn't cut your hair, did you? Your hair's still long, right?
Oh,
I'm like,
my gosh.
Yeah. And they're like, well, I said, well, I'll swing home. I'll get a suit. Don't get a suit. Whatever you do, don't get a suit. Just come, wear your boots, wear jeans, and
because
they're
looking for like an ad guy that gets them.
They did not want a New York ad slick guy.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know how to take that, but all right, I'll come down.
Grow your beard long.
So I went, and I'm sitting out in the lobby, this unbelievable glass palace, office building downtown. And there's this, and the guy, the client comes out from Miller, and the president of the agency comes out, and they're like, all right, now just come in there. Don't say anything. Just sit there and, nod and smile and whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. So
you're chewing tobacco?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that bad, but we get in there, and it was one of those, it was a movie scene. It was a conference table that was larger than anything I'd seen in my life. There were 30 people around it, everyone in, lawyer suits. No offense, Alex. Everyone looked like lawyers. It was shades of gray, blue, and brown. It was all room tones. And me. And I'm like, I'm going to kill them. Everyone is dressed to the nines, and I stroll in there, and I hadn't shaved. It was bad. So I sit there, and for 45 minutes they're talking and talking. I don't say a word. I'm not even acknowledged. I wasn't introduced. I was nothing. I just sat there. The meeting's adjourned. We come out, and I'm just scratching my head like, what's going on? And there's a little huddle over there, and all of a sudden the client comes over, and the president's like, you're in, they loved you.
Oh my.
So so for 2 years we once a week we had meetings with them, and it was a very slow process, but it turned out that they definitely let me into the inner circle. And to your earlier point, it was fun. It was great. I mean, their head lawyer, their executive producer, their producer, and we'd go and meet every week, and it got to the point where actually Miller started getting uncomfortable because they went through me for everything, which was great for me, but it was just it was an odd process.
Did you hang out with the three ZZ Top dudes?
We did to some extent. Billy Gibb was the most gregarious and the nicest. He was really, very welcoming. Frank Beard was the guy without the beard. He was kind of quiet and shy, and didn't really. Billy was definitely the front man, and also he wrote most of the songs. I mean, he was definitely the lead. And then Dusty, who was the other bearded guy, was just a laugh. I mean, he just clowned around, and he was great. But Billy Gibb was like, he invited us out afterwards. He'd let us drive the Cadzilla, the big purple car, which was totally illegal to run on the road because you couldn't see over the hood. But we were in the middle of Memphis somewhere driving it, so it was great.
Oh my gosh!
So at some point, do I have this right? At some point, you moved to LA?
Yes, went to LA. Wanted to get into. I was going to LA a lot for shoots because that's where the studios are. A lot of the directors are out there, and plus when you're living in New York in the winter, you want to make sure you're going to LA sometimes. So we're going there. I always loved it out there. Started doing a little more writing and and a friend who had been in another agency had gotten a job for Cheers as a writer, and some other people in advertising were starting to crack into the television world. So figured out what the heck, give it a shot. So I got a headhunter out there. They got me out there. I had agent. I had a great job. I worked for Foot Cone Belting, and now I'm on toys. So I worked on Mattel, which was a lot of fun. But while I was there, I was trying to crack into the TV business, and it was, it's hard. There's a lot of competition, a lot of people, got a bunch of meetings. Actually met Jerry Seinfeld, who thought my scripts were, what do you say, zippy. That's what he called them. Zippy. I'm like, and? I'm like, okay, so what is this? The offer comes like right after that? He's like, no, that was it. It was Zippy.
Wait, what script of yours did he read?
I wrote spec scripts. You write, to get a job, you have to write a spec script. So at the time, like Third Rock from the Sun, Mad About You, Seinfeld. But if you're on a show, or if a show can't read a spec script of that show because of legal reasons, someone could say, oh, you used my idea, and they could just come up with the same idea. It could be totally innocent, or they could rip it off. So they probably, I don't even remember, Frasier. I think he read a Frasier script that I wrote.
Got it.
Remember that show? See,
yeah.
I'm dating myself.
No, you're not. No, we're on it. Well, when were you born, if you don't mind me asking? I think
1961.
Okay.
So
we're 9 years apart.
Yeah, and that was, the 60s is, 60s I was young, but the 70s and the 80s, there were some glory days of advertising. It was great
for sure.
But then somewhere along the line, I'm like, okay, this is fun, and I love writing, and I love writing the long form. But why would I risk a career to go into something? Because I also had friends that got in, and then they got on a show, and after dropping everything, and that's the end game, and the show gets canceled after 2 weeks,
right? And
then they're out.
So you would write just an episode,
right?
A whole episode, and then they would read it.
Yeah, you'd present it, and if they liked it, you got passed on to the next level, and it was, and it's funny because some people, the same script, one show would love it, and one show would total pass on it, or just send you back with a note saying, maybe you want to think of something else to do.
Right.
So
what do you do? So how long are you in LA, and what are you doing there?
Okay, I was in LA for 10 years. I stayed in advertising.
Wow.
And I stayed at Foot Cone for 6 years maybe, and then headhunter calls and says, hey, because toys, a lot of fun, a lot of production, because there's always a new market.
What toy were you working on?
Most of Hot Wheels.
Okay.
All of Hot Wheels, actually. I was the executive creative director on Hot Wheels, and Tyco RC. So the lot of testosterone toys for little boys. A lot of cool. Ha!
Yeah.
A lot of explosions. Matchbox
funny,
too.
Because I used to eat that stuff up as a kid.
Of course you did.
And you were the dude.
I thought you were going to say you ate hot cars.
Oh, I did that too.
Yeah. But the thing is, the great thing about toys is every 2 years there's a whole new audience. Because people move on. So it's like there's an unending supply. Like there's a lot of job security in toys. And it's so much fun because we get to go to R&D and play with the toys before they're toys.
And the thing of it is, you guys, I've got boys now, and what you do really well is self-perpetuate your brand, right? Each year when the new Hot Wheels come out, for example, right? There's like this new flashy, branding and like you would think, Hot Wheels cars are Hot Wheels cars. But no, each year when the new supply comes in, it's the same car, but there's a whole
twist.
It is.
There's a whole new story, and there's
it's the same car, but now it's in Volcano Blowout, or it's Daytona 500, and you got to have that gravelly voice.
How funny.
And but to that extent, at the time, Jill Barad was the CEO of Mattel. To this day, probably the most brilliant businesswoman person I have ever had the privilege of being in a room with.
Is she the one that brought, because she had a lot to do with Barbie, yes?
She reinvented, Barbie was dying.
Yes, I did see that documentary.
Barbie was dying, and she was the one, and it seems like such a simple insight, but she was the one that, it's like the marketing people came to her, and her people came to her and said, you know what? Barbie's run its course. Mm-hmm. Every girl in America has a Barbie. There's nowhere else to go. Or, quote, every girl. And she said, then every girl should have 2 or 3 or 4 or 15. So she's the one that came up with Teacher Barbie and Zookeeper Barbie and this Barbie and that Barbie and all that. And Barbie became a billion-dollar brand. And Barbie ruled the roost while we were there. The Boys' Toys was, you know, and that sounds kind of weird, but that's what we worked on, the Boys' Toys.
Gosh, that's brilliant. You know who else did that is Lego.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Lego went from just being blocks to kits.
The sets.
That told stories. And
Well, and that's what Hot Wheels did, too.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels, they had the original track and the sets, and then they started doing the volcano blowouts and the Daytonas and this, and tried to come up with themes. And, you know, so the same thing. Kids could, you know, they don't just collect the cars anymore. They want to collect, you know, everything. So
you go to work for Mattel.
Actually, for Foot Cone, which is the agency of record for Mattel. So I worked for Mattel for a while, and I get a call now. But the downside about toys is you can get in there and never get out. So in advertising, it's like you could become a beer guy or, you know, a soda guy or something, and those are all interchangeable. Like you could go from an agency that has beer, and someone from the Coke and Pepsi world will want you, or restaurants or the pizza guys and stuff, and you know you're in that kind of circle. But if you're in cigarettes, you could get stuck there forever. And toys, it's another category that you become a toy guy because there's a lot of rules. It's not. Although Mattel did do really high productions, and we work with great directors, but you know it can be fairly formulaic. So you could get locked in there, and it burns out because you're shooting. You know, in New York when I was in an agency, I remember a creative director that I really looked up with said, you know, if you shoot 2 commercials a year and two print ads, you had a great year. Don't worry about doing any more than that. At Mattel, at Foot Cone and Mattel, we were shooting 30 to 40 commercials a year.
Wow.
It was just insane. I mean, it was constant. And there's a toy fair and pre-toy fair, and then Hong Kong Toy Fair and Europe Toy Fair. So everything was just constant. There was no downtime. So you do get burned out. So my headhunter calls and says, listen, hear me out. You know, I've got a job. I want you to, you know, check it out. It's for supermarkets. And I just said, you know, like, thanks, but, you know.
What's that? Soups?
Supermarkets.
Oh, supermarkets. Okay.
Supermarkets. So I was like, thanks, but, you know, I really don't want to jump from the frying pan to the fire. So she goes, just meet this guy. Just meet this guy. So it was a small independent agency.
In L.A.
And by the name of Duncan and Associates. And I go meet Hugh Duncan, who laughed because I was from New York and couldn't pronounce his name because I kept on calling him Hugh. So I have to really work on saying Hugh Duncan.
Hugh Duncan.
So we met, had dinner, and I spent a couple hours with him. I came back and I called the headhunter. I said, I don't care what you have to do, get me that job.
Why?
Great
what
guy.
turned you on?
He had a vision. He was a great guy. He the way he treated his agency, the way he treated he understood branding. He understood creatives. He had a respect for creatives. He understood that he couldn't do what I could do, and you know, also, but in the same token, thought just because I went to art school, you know, I didn't just draw pretty pictures. You know, I told him, I said, you know, I didn't go into art because I failed math. You know, I went into design and advertising because I could do what I love, but I also get to sit in a room with the CEO of Miller Brewing Company or the president of Mattel and speak my mind, give my opinions, and they'll actually listen. They don't always go along with it, and more times than not they didn't, but I was able to have that choice. If I got an MBA from Wharton, I wouldn't have that opportunity. So it was, you know, and every day is a different day, so it was kind of fun. So I don't know, I just connected with them, and it was the best thing I ever did. That job was the best job I ever had. It was great. We worked for Albertsons Supermarket was the client, and at the time, he also said, he goes, I can't tell you what's happening, but we're at the cusp of something big. They were just about to merge with Lucky, American Stores, which was a huge chain, and Albertsons was taking them over. The small guy was taking them over, so they became big. So overnight, they went from a $30 million account to a $250 million account.
Wow!
And we did some great work. We did a campaign with Patricia Heaton from
Cleveland.
Middle now, Cleveland. They're great lady. It's one of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. Funnier than all get out. She's brilliant.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't watched The Middle, that's one you should binge. That is just the funniest.
She's hysterical.
Funniest show ever.
So I want to get. I've got a bunch of questions about.
Okay, sorry.
No,
blabbing.
not at all.
not
You're
at
answering
all.
our questions, and you're doing what you're supposed to do. But I want to get to some questions about branding and businesses. But before I do, I want to make sure. I'm sure we've skipped over a bunch of your career.
Yeah.
But between LA and coming back here to start Markey Creative, what brings you back here?
At the time,
Or here, not back.
yeah, I never came. I was there.
You're
This
right.
is
Yeah,
the first.
just here.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't heard the story yet.
We
Yeah.
were in LA. We had 3 young kids, and all girls, and work was transitional at the time. Albertsons had a new CEO come in. There was questionable whether they were going to keep us. And Hugh Duncan was thinking about retiring, so I just started putting feelers out. We didn't want to go back to New York because it was more of the same. I mean, as much as I loved the job, and the kids, when we were in LA, when the kids were young, it was great. But I was commuting the same amount. It was an hour and a half in a car. I was traveling a lot. So we figured, maybe we should simplify. We didn't have any family out there. Kids' birthday parties and stuff. No grandparents, no aunts, uncles, cousins. They were growing up without knowing any of those people. And we figured, all right, let's see what comes out. We'll just put some feelers out. And it was right after the Patty Heaton campaign, which was getting awards and national recognition. And, we were collecting all sorts of doorstops, which was great. And I got offers in, Denver, Texas, Chicago. And I was like, they were all great and everyone was great. It was really nice to be loved and wanted, but it was like, well, if we go there, we still don't know anyone. We still don't know anyone, and still didn't want to go back to New York. So we were like, well, maybe, this isn't going to work. And then one headhunter said, I never thought of it, but would you ever consider Cleveland? And we're like, well, Cleveland. So I get on a map.
Where?
I'm like, how far is that from Columbus, where my in-laws live? I'm like, oh, that's not that bad. And then literally that next day, my sister from New York calls up and says, oh my God, I can't believe my brother-in-law, Dick, is being transferred to Cleveland. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
And then my youngest, Fiona, her godparents live in Chagrin Falls, or lived. He passed away recently. And I'm sorry, they live in Strongsville, and Jill, my wife's, her godparents lived in Chagrin Falls. So we're like, all right, too many signs. We came out here, and it worked out for a while. Wasn't the best fit, and I don't want to get into that. But so figured, all right, let's just start on our own and see what happens. And that I kept I was doing a lot of consulting at the time, particularly on the toys. Hannah Montana and Cheetah Girls were all coming out, and Spider-Man, and all these licensing products, which was a lot of fun.
Were you working on your own at that point?
Working on my own, but I was working, like a production company would come and hire me out, or Play Along Toys hired me out for the Hannah Montana, and sort of brought me
Which
in
is
to
coming
do stuff.
back.
Yeah.
Hannah Montana's making a recovery.
So, and having girls, I was the king. I
I'm
was the absolute king
sure.
between Hannah Montana and the Cheetah Girls. Oh my God, I could do no
Wow.
wrong for a couple months. And then Spider-Man and
Couple months.
yeah. It doesn't
Isn't that
last
how
long.
it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did all that, and I don't know, it just happened organically. And Jill, my wife's a designer, and she had always been doing freelance and smaller projects, and her clients were getting bigger because she's so talented, and they were looking for more advertising. I was doing all the marketing and advertising, TV mostly for those products, but they were looking for more print and design, and so we're like, this is stupid. Let's just work together, and it just sort of happened.
Cool.
Yeah, so it happened organically. That was about 7 years ago, almost 8. Markey Creative was born, and we've been hitting the ground ever since. It's been great.
And you guys are kind of like a full service marketing, branding, advertising.
Yeah, we do it all.
Production.
Yeah.
Video, everything. Right?
We do it all. We like to consider ourselves. We like to position ourselves as all our clients' partners. They're in lieu of their in-house marketing department. We are them. So we offer all of it, strategic marketing and design, and we do collateral, we do digital, we do web, we do whatever they need to do. We've had a lot of experience. We can, there's not a lot that we haven't seen.
So they brought the place to go when you want to know for the chamber. That's our tagline, and that was created by the Markey team.
One of our favorite clients.
Yes.
Yeah. Good,
Yes.
good.
Oh, I brought that up earlier, just so you know.
So Neil, there's a lot of business owners listening right now. I hope, I would expect. I'm a business owner. And
I am too, Alex, just so you know.
Sorry. Molly is a published author, documentarian, and business author.
Yes.
And head of the Chagrin Valley Chamber. So
I was just going with
grandma.
business owner.
Anything
Yes.
anything else, Molly?
That's
Did I miss it?
I was just going with business owner too. Brag all you want about me.
Talk about branding. Why is it important? Why should any of us care?
Okay. Well, love to talk about branding because that's sort of our...
It's a layup shot, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It totally teed that one up for me. That's our bread and butter. Branding is paramount. I mean, it is what everything's based on. It's your stake in the ground. It's your reason for being. It's
well, first, what is it?
Well, brand it basically is your reason for being. It's what makes your company, your service, your product unique. What do you stand for? And it's evolved over the years. And today, more than ever, it's really important for a brand to stand for something.
So when I think of a brand, I think of a communication to the world.
That's fair.
But the way you just described it, it sounds more like a reason or a meaning or a purpose.
It's a little of both.
Yeah, they're connected, right?
The best way I've always been able to describe it is when you think of a product, what does that connote in your mind? When I think of Volvo, I think of safety. When I think of Disney, I think magic. When I think of Coca-Cola, it's refreshing. So, what does your brand? What do you want people to think of your brand when they hear it? And what I was saying is, it today more than ever. The millennials and everyone else, they want to feel good about what they're buying, who they're ordering from, who their service, what service they're using. It's not so much about the lowest price anymore. It's not about, the cleverest tagline. Although that all helps. It all, does add to it. But companies want to feel good. And I think some of the people that are doing it really well are Stella Artois with their water give back, Swell bottles, which are, all about give back and, making the earth a better place by eliminating single serve water bottles. Does it serve them? Of course it serves them, but they've come up with a product that's a good product that works and you can feel good about it because if I'm drinking from my Swell, I'm not drinking from a bottle, and I'm doing a little thing to help. If I'm going to buy a beer, I'll think twice, and maybe I'm like, okay, well, I like Miller, I like all beer, but
I like beer.
Yeah, but I will if I see Stella in the case, I will pick that up because I know they're doing something, a little extra.
And branding is also when somebody comes to take a selfie with me, they always ask if I'm going to open my mouth. And that's my brand.
Oh, see, I would think just the selfie itself is your brand.
Absolutely,
That's part of
but me opening my mouth is part of my brand.
And that is true. It's your personality. It's a personality of your brand.
So, how do you help someone identify their brand?
Well, it's a lot of getting to know them on a personal level and getting to know the people. Just a real deep dive. A lot of research into getting back to why someone started a company or why they came to a company, if it's a CEO or president that's moved there. What about it that they think is special? It's we tell everyone, nobody knows their company better than them. I mean, it's, they're the ones with the knowledge. We know how to sell it.
Yeah.
But you need to tell us what's important to you.
Right.
So what makes it different? There's 40 peanut butters on the shelf? Why do you pick up Jif as opposed to Schmuckers?
Yeah.
And why do you want to work for Jif as opposed to Schmuckers?
So once someone identifies what's important to them about their business, right? And I'm imagining the process to involve, okay, well, now we know what's important to you. How do we create messaging around it?
Right, exactly.
Right?
And then you take that information and you basically come up with a brief, a creative brief that has a brand positioning.
Right.
The positioning actually comes first. So you come up with a brand positioning. Gertzberg Law is the firm that, blah, 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 1, 2, 3 points. Really, what's your stake in the ground? What do you want to get across? And that's not advertising language.
Right.
That's just, that could be a paragraph. That could be, it could be legalese. It could be anything that gets that across.
Yeah.
But it's got to have a point of view, and it's got to have an opinion. It's got to state something. So once we take the positioning, then we create the creative brief, which, encompasses everything from your target audience to your goals, rationale behind it, marketing objectives, and we form. And, in a perfect world, it's one sheet because it is called a brief. It very rarely is one sheet because everyone wants to add stuff to it. And that becomes your Bible. That becomes your Bible. And everyone needs to sign off on that. Client, agency, everyone has to feel good about it, that everything on there is exactly true and will guide all the communication from that. So then whether it's a print ad, a radio spot, a digital campaign, a speech, how the phones are answered, how, what your name tags say, is that supported by the creative brief?
Okay, you need to pause because that's what he just said is such a huge comment that I think businesses do not embrace, is the answering the phone. This is the first person that is going to be in contact with your business. And if you are not making sure that that person is helpful, answers with a beautiful, positive. There are so many businesses, including our chamber members, that I'll call and I want to hang up the phone the second the person,
Right.
Hi, thanks for calling, blah, blah, blah.
Right. I'm sorry. Am I bothering you?
Yeah. Like, did you just wake up? Like, what's going on? And then it's like, can I talk to Joe Schmo? Hold on. And that is so true that everybody needs to be on the page with the brand.
Right. And the brand, it infiltrates into the culture.
Sure.
Side story, Pedigree Dog Foods years ago did a whole brand evaluation, and they brought Chiat Day in from LA, which is arguably one of the best agencies ever, terrific creative agency. And they went in there and they did a whole brand audit, and they came back with a whole twist on everything. They changed the whole culture of the company because they came back and said, "You people are you're a pet food company. Why don't you embrace pets? Like, you wouldn't even know. And pet lovers love other pet lovers." So they opened basically a daycare for the dogs and cats and parrots or whatever. They brought them in their corporate headquarters. Your name tag was no longer just your name tag. You were Fluffy's dad or, Oreo's brother or whatever. So that, and you had pictures. It wasn't your ID. It was a picture of your pet. So little things like that, they brought it down to that level. And they did great branding and strategic thinking, but they didn't stop there. They brought it down to they changed the mindset of the people that worked there as well as people, how they thought about the company. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's everybody.
Yeah. So let's finish out that process. So now you've had a series of meetings. You've created this ostensibly one-page sheet that gets everyone sign off, and that then is used for
the fun stuff.
Yeah. So keep going through the process. What happens next? What do the deliverables look like from Markey Creative to the client?
Well, they're different for every client, but in a broad strokes, the deliverables, then you take that brief and you start creating the fun stuff, the advertising, the design. So it could be a TV campaign, it could be a print campaign, it could be just collateral, it could be direct mail, it could be whatever it is, and it shouldn't matter what it is. This is when, when you're staring at a blank page, and Molly being an author knows, I mean, that could be a terrifying thing or a really joyful thing where it's like anything is possible at this point. So
can we just take a pause? I just love how he said I could know that. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Carry on.
Because it's author lingo. We're talking author lingo right now.
Author here. So you take, and at this point, there's no ideas that are bad ideas as long as they're strategic and they follow the plan. And you just, you come up with different hopefully exciting, hopefully thoughtful ways to get that message out that will resonate with the target audience. Something that is my pet peeve, and it's more common today, is there's some really funny, wacky, off-the-charts advertising out there that is totally inappropriate for the client, for a client. Like,
give me one.
I'm trying to think, and of course I knew you were going to ask, but it's like, it could be a wacky thing, but if it's for a medical device, you don't, that's not what you want. You don't want slapstick humor when your health isn't at risk, or there's a very thin line when humor for feminine projects products is not it's not appropriate, and it's also, you got to remember who you're selling it to. If a product target market is elderly or 55 to 75, you don't reference Saturday Night Live skits and 25 something humor. It's just, it's got to be appropriate. As funny as it is, and no one loves funny more than I do. I mean, everyone's presented stuff that is just hysterical and stuff, but it's not always right, So it's got to be right for the client. It's got to be right for the times. There's a lot of things that are going to be reflected because of what happens politically. I mean, it's just it's just the way it is, and you can't discard that. You have to take that all into consideration. It has to be smart.
Has advertising taken a hit along with TV being just a looking different now?
I don't think it's taken a hit.
Hulu's and the Netflix and the
it hasn't taken a hit. It's definitely taken a different path.
Mm-hmm.
It's opened up a lot of opportunities, and people have been saying radio's dead for 30 years now, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, there's a time and a place for radio advertising. It's very effective, and it just, again, has to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, we advertise for open houses for Gilmore Academy and on the PBS station. It's the right target. It's people who are listening for, they're not just flipping channels. They're listening for news. They're listening for information and stuff. It's a great fit. It always seems to work.
And you mentioned Gilmore because I know that they're a client of yours. So you're guiding them. So, here's your brand. And I think you should be selling that on the radio. So you're guiding them and suggesting these places where they should spend their money.
Yes, we bring it's media plans and media strategies, and how much of it since the digital revolution and digital and social came along, like anything, everyone's, oh my God, throw everything into digital, throw everything into social, and it's a great vehicle, it's an effective vehicle, but again, it's part of the mix. There's got to be a blend, because it's not like for Gilmore example. We do a full digital campaign. It's very effective. We're really happy with it. But there's also a big contingency in the private school things where grandparents are paying for their grandchildren's education. These schools are, come up with a price ticket. So you go for the affluent customer, but it's also there. You got to consider that there's also another section with Gilmore in particular. It's a Catholic school. So, you have to hit the Catholic market.
When you say there's got to be a mix, I assume what you're basically doing is you're taking their marketing budget, and you're taking their demographic, and you're taking the message, and you're putting them into the soup, and you're saying, okay, here's the mix of vehicles through which we're going to put your message out.
Absolutely.
So what are the vehicles? And
Well,
what's a typical mix, if there is?
There
one?
is no typical mix. There's absolutely no typical mix.
So,
Everyone's
because all those components. are different.
it depends on what what the objectives are. But for example, they have a budget of X amount of dollars, and you want to have a base. You want to it depends what their objectives are too, because it's all interwoven. Like, a lot of products have seasons or hit points. I know when I worked on cars, everything was geared towards the dealers meetings, which happen twice a year. When it was beer, it was the distributors meetings that happened in May and September. Toys were Toy Fair, the several different Toy Fairs. So it was like, peaks and valleys, and they call it, a suspension bridge media plan, where you want to have a base for 12 months in a perfect world of branding, getting your message out there so that your people are aware of the name of the product, of the service. There's an awareness that you're out there, so that when the time comes for a purchase, or when the consumer is ready to make that purchase, then the boost comes, and you're in radio and TV and print, so that they're aware of it. They're aware of Hot Wheels, volcano blowout. But okay, I've got a 5-year-old boy, his birthday's coming, or Christmas is coming up, and oh my God, that looks like fun. There's a lot of kapowing and booming and blowing up stuff on TV. Yeah, he'll like that, and so you gear them, you try to guide them through the process during the year.
So what's for a small or mid-sized company, and maybe we should be talking about mid-sized companies here, but small too. What's a good marketing budget?
Everyone always asks that, and there's a sort of rule of thumb that it should be 10% of your sales. We never really go by that. We have very few clients that do 10% of their sales. It just, it's a weird thing with advertising, because everyone knows it's important. They want to, when they see the competitors doing it, they want to do it, but it's the first thing to get cut.
Right.
And it's the last thing that should be cut.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the last thing that should be cut, because it's, and this is, again, going back to my TV holic days. Remember Dynasty?
Oh, yeah.
The TV show. It's, there was at the beginning of the series, there was the Carringtons were bankrupt. And so what they do, they threw the biggest party in town to show, and people were like, well, why are you doing that? It's like, it's the only time when you're running out of money. That's like when you got to show people you have money. So
yeah,
it's, people read into everything. If people's budgets cuts, the alarms go off, competitors will start saying, oh, they're in trouble. It's, may or may not be true. It usually is not, but you need to have a presence in the market. It's too competitive now. I mean, because people can be anywhere. If you don't have a big budget, there's still ways to be out there. And the biggest thing is more than the budget number, which of course we love big budget numbers. I mean, we love healthy marketing, budgets. That's makes everything easier and better and more effective. But it's more important to be consistent, to have a steady message, to be out there. Just don't, if you're going to go blow out and run a print ad and then go dark for 6 months, don't do it. Save the money.
Spread the
Save
money out,
and do a social campaign. It's better to do less better than try to do something big but can't follow through.
Right.
Because the worst thing you can do is get someone interested and then go dark.
So are you with them the whole, so you're making a yearly commitment or with somebody? I mean, because you don't just say, okay, here's your plan, and then you're gone. You're kind of guiding them through the year, right?
All of our, we're lucky. Most of our clients are long-term. I mean, we've been with most of our clients, several years. There's some, we take projects, and that's, start and close, and that's different, but most of our clients are long-term, and we're with them because it's a long commitment, and you want to follow it through, and you also want to follow it up and make sure that it's being executed. So it's a partnership.
Yeah.
So talk about that some more. What's the best way to partner with your agency, with your marketing firm?
It's just that. It's really be a partner. Okay. Take them in. It's not an us and them situation. No one's trying to spend your money unwisely, or, and I'm just talking generally for anybody, any marketing or advertising firm you work with. Really partner with them, because that's when the best work comes. Share information. The worst thing that could happen is like you see a press release that you had no idea that was going with one of your clients, and it's something that you could have really leveraged in the advertising or design that could have helped. And it's like you have to be in it together, because it's a dance. It's a long day. It's a marathon. Mm-hmm. So you partner with them, listen, both sides. It's a hard thing. A lot of people have difficulty dealing with creatives. If a creative speaks their mind, oftentimes they're labeled a diva, or they just want pretty pictures out there. And more times than not, there's a real reason. There's a reason a typeface is chosen. There's a reason that something's laid out a specific way. There is a science to design. It's the Gestalt theories. I mean, there is a whole section of psychology that guides the principles of design, that guide a reader through a page, a brochure, a book, and same thing in a TV spot. There's thought behind everything. So listen, but also from the designer or from the advertising agency, listen to your client. If they're uncomfortable or they really don't want to do something, even if you absolutely think it's the right thing, tell them your reasons, give them your rationale. But at the end of the day, they are writing the check. So if they say no, figure out another way to do the same thing. Figure out some way to get your objectives through that they're comfortable with, because it goes both ways. Right. You can't expect them to say, peace, love, and Bobby Sherman to every pretty picture, and say yes to all this great design and advertising. But then when they're feeling uncomfortable, they have to be recognized too. So it really goes back and forth.
You ready for the light?
I have one more question. True or false? Did Coke put remember back in the day and during the movie theaters?
I don't know if it was Coke, but
true?
I know it definitely was true that people put frames in
Do you think it's still happening? Because I watched my grandbabies the other day. They were horrible and crying and screaming, and I turned on that Baby Shark. And which is made in another country. I'm not going to say what country it is because I'm not going to go political here. But I'm wondering if they are teaching my grandbabies to love their country in between. And I start to think, is that true? Were they splitting?
It was true. They absolutely did that. Whether it's happening now, I'm sure it is on some level. But I think what's happening worse is that the whole digital world. I mean, have you noticed? Again, a little too much information, but we were at a party and someone was joking about underwear. Someone needed new underwear, and it's like, oh my, for God's sakes,
what kind of party are you going to, Neil?
Well, yeah, this is. It's like, for God's sakes, put a crowbar in your wallet, buy new underwear, and stop, worrying about it and stuff. I kid you not, I've been inundated with underwear ads,
100%,
and it was my phone must have had Wi-Fi on, and it
100%.
was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's happening definitely.
Yeah. So that's a course, or that's what we are going to be. That's one of our pop-ups next year, is how the Alexases and the Googles can help your business. But 100% that's happening.
So I think that's, the flash of Coke in the movies is now turning into
interesting.
They're all over the place.
It is only going to get way worse, and we are going to end up being talking monkeys to the advertising world, man.
Yes.
And I think I may have said that. I can't remember.
Don't bring up the TV show that you want us to watch, the scary one.
You got to see it. The
don't.
Great Hack.
No, don't.
Did you watch The Great Hack?
Oh my gosh.
You got to watch it.
Enough.
You want to know how badly we have been manipulated? It's on Netflix, The Great Hack.
Oh, okay.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There will be regulation. There has to be.
At some point.
It's getting bad.
Yeah. But it'll come too late. Or it'll come like way after the fact, like most regulations do, which is kind of how we are as a country. But that's it's insane what our data and what our words and our thoughts.
They know everything.
But there's also I mean, have I talked about Cinnabon on this before? No, there's other manipulations that don't involve technology at all that you probably know about. It's like, I'm trying to remember. It was a marketing book that I read, but Cinnabon, what they do is there's the law of familiarity, right? And it basically says that you are more likely to buy something familiar than something novel, right? And so when you walk into a mall, there's a Cinnabon kiosk right when you walk in. The purpose of that kiosk when you walk in is not to sell you anything. It's to waft the Cinnabon aroma through your nostrils as you're walking in, because the real store is in the back of the mall. And when you walk past it, you're like, I got to get me a Cinnabon.
I've been dying for one for an hour.
Well, they've been doing that when you're selling your house and you're supposed to make an apple pie or to feel like home.
Well,
or
in restaurants, the type of music that's blasting from the street determines what type of clientele that they'll get. And so there's all sorts of psychology.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I'll leave stores and restaurants just because the music is wrong.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
no.
And other people will be drawn to that.
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
And you'll be drawn to a different type.
Yeah.
So.
We're going to take a very short break and come back and do some lightning round.
Okay.
All right, Neil?
That sounds frightening.
Yeah, it is. It is. Brace yourself.
Beware.
Hey, folks. Alex Gertzberg here. I am CEO of the Gertzberg Law Firm and Cover My Six, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I wanted to take a quick second to tell you about something special we're doing at Cover My Six. If you own or run a business, I want you to go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify for a no-cost business vulnerability assessment. My business lawyers will meet with you in person, go over your customer contract, your employee handbook, and your other key legal documents, and help you spot any legal minefields that they see. We'll also give you some guidance on how to stop those minefields from blowing up your business. So go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify and to sign up. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show.
I'm nervous.
I
Don't be
love
nervous.
that.
Don't be
He's nervous.
It'll all be okay. I mean, look, it is the case that everything you say is being recorded, and we are in control of all of it. And
Of all the edit.
We will probably use it against you later, but no, I'm just joking.
Fair enough.
I'm just kidding. This will be fun. Molly,
Yes, Alex.
why don't you start?
I shall.
Please do.
Neil, what are you binging?
Wait, I know this. Succession.
Is that good?
It's
HBO?
It is. It started out slow, but it's good. Yeah.
Did you watch Downton Abbey? Did you watch that?
We
You did?
Oh, God, yeah.
Should I give it past the first or second? I
watch it all. It's great.
like the first and second.
Maggie Smith alone is worth it. Just
She hasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, she did come a little bit.
It's
already.
really good. It's beautifully shot too.
Will it pick up? And I'm not a huge actiony.
No, it's the storylines. Yeah, I don't know. We loved it. We loved it. We,
okay.
You know.
All right. Your perfect day.
Let's see. My perfect day. Oh gosh. Getting to sleep a little later.
Amen,
which
brother.
means 8, maybe 9 o'clock. The sun is out. Getting outside, hopefully getting a little exercise, hearing from my daughters, finding out that the perfect day is that all 4 of them are having a good day, which is very rare, so good things happen to all 4 and everyone's in a good mood. And then a glass of red wine and a really nice dinner.
I love it. Cooked at the house or out?
Jill is better than any chef. So
okay, so we'll be all over in about an hour then. Excellent. If you weren't in advertising, what would you be?
I think either photographer or production, like being in the movie set, but on the production side.
Okay. And what's on your mind?
Right now, nothing.
Right now. All right. I love that.
Around.
I love that. Alex, it's your turn, sir.
Thank you, Molly.
You're
Neil,
welcome.
you are stranded on a desert island, shipwrecked for a minimum of 3 months, possibly for the rest of your natural-born life. You have no idea. You may bring with you any single musician's entire discography, and that may be the only musician you listen to for the rest of your life. Who do you bring?
Bruce Springsteen.
Oh. Didn't even
see
have to
that.
think about it.
That's a wide discography right there. Huge selection there. All right. I can see that. You must be a huge Springsteen fan already.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. See, I would think that big Springsteen fans would have that answer every time. Same shipwreck, same desert island, same unknown period of time. You may bring with you any single author's entire bibliography.
Tom Clancy.
Ooh, excellent. Keep you busy. 1,000 pages at a time.
Yeah. Can't get enough Jack Ryan.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That I will be binging that when that comes back out, season 2. It's
Did you like the first season?
First one was phenomenal, and it had nothing to do with the story, but it was great. And I have to say that Krasinski, in my mind, is the best Jack Ryan.
Really?
Yeah,
That's the Office guy.
yeah. And I would have, when I heard it, I'm like, what are they thinking? He's perfect.
Over Alec Baldwin?
Alec Baldwin
A young
would have been.
Alec Baldwin.
Baldwin was great in Red October.
Yeah.
He snoozed though, and he got himself. He wanted too much money or
Yeah.
whatever, so he would have been good. Harrison Ford. I love Harrison Ford. Way too old.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
And I didn't like Ben Affleck in there.
No, Ben Affleck didn't work.
What the hell are you talking
As
about?
not as Jack
Both
Ryan.
of
Not as
you.
Jack Ryan.
No, he's great. He could be any other role, but he's not a Jack Ryan. I agree. I compare everything to Alec Baldwin because I thought he was so perfect in Red October.
He was, but at the time he was a little too polished. Like, I don't know, something about John
that.
Krasinski is just because he's he is the everyday guy too.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
What is the habit or routine that you do on a regular basis that's given you the most mileage?
I think walking.
Really?
Yeah, because that's when.
And that's no pun intended. Mileage.
Oh,
Right. Not that kind of mileage.
no, but
You're saying-
walking is where I'm allowed to go anywhere. In my mind.
In your mind.
In my mind, and that's when the best ideas come. It's like when it's like anything. If you try too hard, if you get stuck and you're trying too hard, it just doesn't show up. And then, you let everything go, and walking seems to do it for me more than exercising and stuff. It just I walk the dog twice a day, and that I'm telling you, some of the best ideas come. Thank
I
Oreo.
love that.
Do you listen to music or do you go?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. When I walk for if I'm going to walk, for exercise or something I'll go up to the parks or whatever. I'll listen to music then, but not if I'm just walking just to relax. And I walk back and forth to work most days, and it's nice because it gets you going, it gets you ready in the right place for work, and then coming back, you can de-stress and and process and things that that maybe you've been struggling with. You're like, oh, why didn't I see that?
And how is it? We didn't even talk. Like, how is it to work with your wife and then come home with your wife?
Everyone asks that. It's a fair question, but it's great because we do such different things.
Okay.
She's a designer, and she's a brilliant designer, and I'm much more the advertising strategic thinker, but so it's and our clients are diverse enough where there's a lot of design projects, there's a lot of advertising projects, but there's a lot of collaboration too.
Okay.
We have fun.
Speaking of your lovely wife, our crack research department uncovered this lovely picture of her sitting next to this guy with this mullet.
That actually is not my wife.
See, I kept looking at that and
That is
thinking,
a very dear friend of mine, Barb Simon, who is also a designer. We went to college together, and that was in Italy. True story. This was I went with a buddy of mine after college. We went to Italy, and I got the best leather jacket in the world from the market outside of Florence. It was that butter soft leather. It was the perfect jacket. New Year's Eve, back in New York, someone stole it. Instead of getting ticked off, I just said, I'm going back. So she was living in Munich at the time, or actually she was living in Zurich at the time, and I called her up. I said, I bought a flight tonight. I'm meeting you there. You're driving me to Italy. We're getting that jacket back.
Oh, my gosh.
But she's a really good friend of both Jill and mine.
Oh, that's funny. Are we allowed to put
insanely
that?
Talented motion graphics designer and regular design, but she's really gifted.
Are we allowed to put that picture up on Facebook with the mullet?
The mullet is just, it was the 80s. That's a great
no, we just don't want to. We want our listeners to be able to know what we're talking about.
If you have a later picture as well, just to show them that I don't still have the mullet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to take a selfie today, so they'll know. They'll know.
The Christie. You know Christie George, right?
Yes.
All right. The Christie is, if you could interview any person who ever lived, who would it be?
Oh, I should have known this. That's a good one. Let's see. I want to say something really nice like Jesus or something, but I think I'd want to interview someone that want to know why. What were they thinking? Like someone like Adolf Hitler. Like what the what?
Oh, you can say. You can say. Yes, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. But someone really dark and like.
Although you can't say after you just said Jesus. So.
Yeah, no. So
yeah, that's interesting.
So Jesus or Adolf Hitler?
Okay. Yeah, Oswald. Oswald? Like, did you do it? Did you do it, and why?
I think we have a first here. I think that the answer to that question as either Jesus or Hitler might be my favorite answer to that question in 100 episodes, Molly.
Yeah.
We have another one. So we're gonna roll out a couple new lightning round questions here. Some relatively new. So the Brett Jones. Right, Brett was a recent guest. We now have a question named after him. If you could go back 100 years, what technology or knowledge would you take back with you?
Oh, from now back then.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be 1920. Oh, they had a lot of stuff back then. So, I guess videography.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So you can see better, I mean, I guess movies were already around, but, better technology so you could actually hear it and see it.
Okay. Acceptable. How would you define a life well lived?
I think if you look back and you can say that you're happy. I mean, just being happy. I mean, I know that sounds kind of trite, but yeah, I mean, I don't think at the end of the day, nothing really else matters. Is this as long as, if my, kids are happy, I'm happy, my family's happy. So
good. I would share that. I think that's about right.
I think that's pretty much what everyone's going to say.
What do you think your purpose is?
I think my purpose is to be a good father.
Excellent. And then lastly, by far the most important and the most difficult and complex question that we're going to ask you, and also the last one. What is an embarrassing thing about yourself that very few people know, and for extra credit, that no one else knows?
Aside from the mullet?
Did we already answer that question?
Aside from the mullet and the ROTC, wanting to go into the, the Private Benjamin part where he's like, all right. Well, I may or may not have stalked Kim Delaney at one time in my life.
Tell more.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, you do.
Kim Delaney was Jenny on All My Children.
Okay.
She also,
but she's also played something else.
She was on. She was in Miami Vice or no, the Blues. One of the cop shows.
Hill Street Blues.
No, it was the other one with.
You would know her if you saw her.
I know the show.
NYPD Blue.
Yes.
NYPD Blue.
Yes.
But yeah, all right. So I have to explain.
Yes, you do.
Dear friend of mine's mother was the casting director for All My Children for 25 years. When Susan Lucci finally won her Emmy, she called her out, said, Joan Dinchenko, the greatest casting director alive. Dino, her son, is one of my best friends, and he worked on the shows. So he knew I was borderline obsessed, infatuated with Kim Delaney, who was Jenny Gardner, and told me that she rode her bike to the studio every day. So being a friend, got a picnic lunch, sat on the island in the 70s between Broadway and 7th Avenue, and everything clicked, and we just hung out and waited for her, and for several days.
Oh my God!
There was no restraining order or anything. I mean, it was fine. But
did she finally pass by on the bike?
No, she passed by every day. We were
there. You were just
we
looking,
were
just watching.
Yeah, because it was just there was nothing.
How old are we at this
we're
juncture?
19, 20, 21,
okay.
College years. So,
okay.
Yeah. So.
How funny!
I don't know what I would have done if she stopped.
So you were just watching from afar.
From afar, yeah.
Yeah.
There was no, and there would have been a lot of
right.
She was stunning. Is probably still so. And funny, my boss Hugh Duncan, years later, guess who moves next to her? Him. Kim Delaney.
Oh my gosh!
I never saw her there though. He wouldn't allow me there when she was around. Anyway.
Yeah, smart man.
Molly, declare this episode officially a success. What do you think?
Yes.
Well, this was fun.
Neil, that was awesome.
It was fun, right? It's painless.
Are you, Neil, are you working on anything or doing anything right now that you want to get out to the universe before we close?
We're working on lots of fun stuff, particularly Wild Grill Foods is a new client, which we're really excited about. It's a national frozen seafood product, and it's exciting because the potential is everything good that we talked about, branding and everything is all there. It is a private company that was founded by Patrick and Dagmar Sullivan, who have a long history in the wine business. Dagmar's family was French, and they had the vineyards in France. They came over and established the BV winery in California. They were lived in Napa Valley for years. They are big foodies and were really part of the food culture that became the California cuisine. So they have all that, and they're started, and they with this appreciation for everything natural and earth. They're really, they're also, they're a little bit, hippie-ish, because they're definitely, the California culture and stuff, and they're really concerned about the earth and everything. So they've started this seafood product that's all natural. They're seafood burgers and sausages and crab cakes, but it's all fully sustainable, responsible farming, and they're really good. They're really tasty.
How does not to continue our conversation, but how does the Markey Creative in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, land an account? Do you bid on accounts? Like, do you hear through the grapevine that they're looking? How do you?
Well, we do go after accounts that we know, but we've been really lucky because everything's been word of mouth.
Oh, that's great.
The majority's been everything word of mouth, and people have come to us.
Okay.
And this was through a other project we worked on. Gary Gottfried knew these people and said, "Hey, you should talk to them." But he said, that's as far as I can do it. And we presented our strategies and our thoughts behind it. And they called. We got off the phone, and we got a follow-up call from someone else that was on the phone saying, "You guys, we need to have another conversation because everything you said we need to be doing." And they're great and they're good, but they're focused on building the business, and their plant is growing by 40,000 square feet, and they're busy and all that stuff. But we need to get the message out and stuff. So so
very cool.
We signed on them, but it's a really cool product. They're great people. They're doing good, and the product's terrific, and it's exciting because it's new. It's all brand new. It's just starting to roll out, and it's exciting to see that. I mean, we're doing everything from packaging to the marketing to social and digital. Like we sending out blasts, like the at their through the years and stuff. Cary Grant and Julia Child and everything used to come to the vineyard and have dinner, and they'd have it outside. It's
Wow.
You can't write this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like, it's stuff, everything's teed up. So it's like, we have to tell the story.
Will we see these campaigns
Yeah,
here?
it's a national
Okay.
and hopefully international, but
Okay.
I mean, Canada, it is international.
Yeah.
It's already in Canada. So,
Do we
so
really
it's fun.
consider Canada international? I mean, come on. I mean, for you, you can, but for them.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Molly?
how cool. Just grab your book. There's 3 of them now.
That's
Just
a piece of Molly's
a piece of
mind.com.
Molly's mind.com.
Excellent.
That is my brand,
Excellent.
my company.
Excellent.
And it was named that so that you know everything that's going on in my head.
That's a scary proposition right
Yeah,
there.
trust me. So I'd love for you all to go pick up your books.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah, please.
Gosh, I wish I could talk about the things that we're doing, but I can't. So
Oh, so
all I
exciting.
can say is they're exciting and they're highly confidential, and
But we're going to talk.
we will talk.
Yeah.
We will talk. Folks, Jill, I'm talking to you. Jill and your 3 daughters. You got 3 daughters?
4 daughters.
4.
4
One's
daughters.
married
If you've listened this far, then you are either Jill or one of Neil's 4 daughters. And at least 100, we did the math. We think that there's several hundred people listening at any given point.
Yes.
At this point. So if you're one of those people, then whatever device you're listening to us on, if there's a way to rate or review us, do that. If there isn't, then do it online. iTunes is a great place to do that. Go to our Facebook page and click the like button, or you can go to thebest.podcast.ever.com and click subscribe, and then you'll be in the know.
Yeah,
You'll be
and
one
then
of the
tell
cool
us.
kids.
We want you to tell us what you're doing while you're listening to us.
Right.
When you're
Unless
listening,
it's dirty, and then we don't want to.
we want to know that as well.
How dare you, Molly?
I mean, we do. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, listen, Neil, I mean, I just turned off my computer, but I think this is like episode 105 or something like that, right? This is, you got it right there, Molly. What are we?
103.
103.
Wow.
You believe
look
that,
good.
Neil?
I don't.
We're
That's
in
fabulous.
the hundreds. And all I'm going to say about that is that we love doing this, and we hope that we're doing it well, and that we're creating interesting things, and giving folks at home something interesting to listen
But
to.
you know, Alex, that if we're not,
we don't care.
we don't care.
We don't give a shit at all, really.
Don't give
I mean, we're having fun.
two
in here.
shits.
2 shits. Well, I mean, you're right.
We don't give it.
No, we don't.
No, we do. We love all our listeners. So not true.
It's really hard to reconcile those 2 positions there, Molly. Here's what I think Molly's trying to say, folks. I think that we care very much about creating interesting content and interesting things to listen to. And from what we can tell, or else we wouldn't be doing it for this long, we are. And I hope you will tell us if there's something you want to hear or somebody that you'd like to have us interview. And thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next time.
See y'all.
Thank you. It was
Thank
fun.
you.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we thank you for listening. And remember to check out the Gertzberg Law Firm if you're starting, running, growing, or transitioning a business, or if you need to create or update your wills, trusts, or estate plan. Our firm and our lawyers are among the highest caliber and well-recognized professionals in the field. We are veteran-owned, have the highest rankings from Super Lawyers and the other key attorney rating organizations. And we were recently added to the coveted Weatherhead 100. More than being respected by our peers, our clients rely on us to successfully defend them in court, help them avoid the courtroom with our Cover My Six service, protect their assets, and for many non-legal business services like recruiting and business development. More than just litigators, we are trusted advisors, problem solvers, and growers of businesses. Let us help you and your company. Call us or find us online to learn more. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.